good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, all. So, I thank and welcome all of you to this My Time, the day 6 of My Time. This is the time between the World Meditation Day and the International Day of Yoga, which we are dedicating this special time to the special person that is ourselves.
Give kudos to yourself for those wonderful 40 minutes for your time, my time. At this point, I wish to just ask, how was your meditation?
It's very relaxing, first of all.
Mhm,
And then a lot of thoughts come in, but still, um the music takes us into the deeper states, and
mhm,
it's really very relaxing. And every day we are meditating and seeing some changes, something happening within, some awareness coming up, and not just in the meditation, the effects are seen even after the meditation, during the day also.
mhm,
That awareness, that mindfulness during the acts is also developing. So the meditation was really amazing today. It was
mhm.
really very relaxing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So, my friends used to ask me how was meditation in my beginning time or even these days. So, my answers were different in different times. Sometimes my answers were, oh, wow, it was like you said, it was completely peaceful, very calm, it was soothing. And sometimes a meditation was really horrible. Oh, it was flood of thoughts coming in, and it was really, I couldn't even catch my breath even for a second. The whole 45 minutes was full of thoughts. Sometimes when I sit for meditation, bodily pain takes over and my entire attention goes to the pain. And sometimes the music is beautiful and I just love the music. Maybe I heard that music for the first time and I was crossed into it. I was completely with the music, but not with the meditation, not with the awareness. Sometimes the music was not good, so I used to not enjoy. Arey, what music is being played? I can see one person also mentioned the music is very, very low. Well, these are different types of experiences, different types of you know situations we go through. Now, the context, I'm just trying to set the context here. So today we will discuss about the turning of mind. What really happens when we sit and meditate, and what is that process? What is the way we are progressing towards this transformation? We all have been talking about transformation, right? So this concept, this churning of mind, this transformation is very, very beautifully explained in a mythological story called Sagar Manthan. So today we will just deep dive into what this story is actually talking about, and then we will talk from the scientific perspective very soon after finishing this mythological story. So most of us must be aware of this story called Sagar Manthan. So I'll not deep dive into the story part of it, but we will try to analyze and understand what this story is trying to explain us. Now, today we have gadgets, we have a lot of online applications and different ways and methodologies to teach and learn different concepts. In the past, it was just the story. The guru comes and narrates a story, and a lot of these teachings happens in real time. So that's when this Sagar Manthan was explained. So let's understand this. So let's first, okay, is the screen not moving? Okay. So I want you to understand the story, just go through the story and yourself. Keep yourself in that picture, this whole meditation process. So at the time when you decided that spirituality or self transformation is important, so this self transformation is itself is a churning process. So to for this process, this requires the integration of both positive and negative aspects of human personality. And in this spiritual practice, the impurity impurities and evil nature also play a very important role by creating a lot of barriers and difficulties on our path. And it's only when we overcome these barriers and difficulties, we challenge ourselves and we improve different ways to strengthen ourselves and build a character. So as long as we are vulnerable to them, cannot progress on this path. So as I said, this is beautifully explained in this story of Sagar Manthan. And this whole process of Sagar Manthan is a self-transformation. So now we all have decided, okay, let me get into meditation, let me get into this spiritual journey, and let me try to overcome whatever that I'm facing or probably searching for the truth. So the churning is inevitable. Now, before getting to the crux of the story, let me explain the characters. We all know gods and demons, they sat together and they decided, okay, let's do a churning and get the elixir. Elixir is nothing but the final thing that you get, which makes you liberated. So here, gods and demons are nothing but good and bad. So in order for a human to seek liberation through spiritual practice, you got to integrate between these good and bad, this positive and negative energies, and so on. Ocean of milk, also known as Kshir Sagar, this represents the mind. And those thoughts and emotions are like those waves. Mount Mandhara. This mountain stands for concentration. So in this Mandhara, man means mind, and dhara means a single line of concentration. Tortoise stands for withdrawal of mind and senses into oneself. Now, this is essential to the practice of meditation. The serpent Vasuki, this represents desire or intention. Manthan, the whole process of churning, this represents the spiritual transformation or purification of mind and the body. Halahal, the great poison, this represents all the negativity that surfaces in your consciousness when you begin your spiritual practice. Lord Shiva. Shiva, we all know, symbolizes the ascetic principle, the destroyer of illusion, inwardly detached, pure and austere. So it also means gaining control over the mind through breath control. The divine objects that comes after these negativities come, they stand for spiritual power or perfections. And then Dhanvantari. Dhanvantari signifies that spiritual success can be achieved only when the body and mind are in a perfect state of health, the one who bought this Amrit or elixir. Then comes the Mohini, the delusion of mind in the form of pride or ego. This also symbolizes the power of Maya. Now, this is the last hurdle one has to overcome in the spiritual life before experiencing self-realization. And lastly, Amrit, which is self-realization or liberation. Okay, so now the Manthan started. So Manthan is nothing but self-transformation. So here we decided, okay, let me sit for meditation. Let me start my meditation and the practice of self-transformation. Let me just get into this. So that's a self-transformation. Gods and demons firmly held the serpent Vasuki. So here, gods and demons are the good and bad qualities in us. They firmly held this Vasuki. Vasuki is nothing but the desire as a and churned the old keys, holding the good and bad and good, and between the good and bad there is a churning happening in the mind. Now when this churning mind happens, that is good and bad qualities, the thoughts and everything are being churned with the assistance of Mount Mandara, that is concentration. We are trying to concentrate. Okay, we are actually getting dwindled between the good and bad. That's when tortoise, that is Vishnu, comes underneath the ocean and holds the Mandara, keep it firm. And tortoise represents the withdrawal of senses. So when this happens, we withdraw our senses and okay, we withdraw the senses. So now that the concentration is set and it is all fine, the churning goes on, happens, and the very first thing that manifests is halahal, the negativities. So when we sit for meditation, it's the negative things which actually comes first, mostly. You find a lot of negative characters, negative manifestations that had happened, or whatever we are carrying through from our childhood or past lives, all comes over. That is when Lord Shiva came and gulped the halahal. So here, Lord Shiva represents self-discipline. It's also representing the breath. So you remember when we sit for meditation, we mention cut the thoughts and come back to your breath. So it's nothing but you cut those negative thoughts and come back to your breath. So when we be with the breath, we automatically cut those thoughts. So that's the discipline we need to maintain. That's the self discipline we need to bring. And again, the churning began. Then, once we are disciplined, divine objects showed up. And divine objects are nothing but perfections. So, perfections, divine objects like Kamadhenu, a lot of things showed up. So, the perfections are nothing but certain positive and beautiful experiences we get. For some, it could be a third eye. For some, it could be, oh, I got my job, the dream job, or it could be, material, non-material, or it could be just peace. Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm at peace. So all those perfections shows up. And then lastly, Dhanvantri appeared with the Amrit. And Dhanvantri is nothing but health and physical well-being. And he brings the Amrit, which is the liberation. So we get to that state of liberating, and that's where another beautiful character comes, Mohini. And Mohini is character is pride and ego. It represents pride and ego. So once we start seeing these perfections, ego comes in. Oh, we feel, oh, I'm in a different state now. I am ahead of others. The I, it keeps coming and it takes over you. So, as per the story, you understand, right? When the demons fell for Mohini, they forgot about the elixir, they forgot about the Amrit. They just went behind Mohini. So, this is when we have to be aware and cut the ego. And gods chose to be paying attention, be aware of the elixir, and they got liberated. They became self-realized, and that elixir helped them to be, the story how it goes. So the most important message here is we should not throw away the precious opportunity of pursuing the evil desires or engaging in selfish actions under the spell of Maya. We should practice meditation, cultivate all the divine qualities, work towards our liberation without becoming deluded or distracted, or without even losing their focus on liberation. So these are all the pathway. This is the whole process is turning. So when we sit for meditation, this is what is happening. So this story is beautifully explained. In this story, I hope my presentation is stopped, right? So this story is beautifully explaining the inner meaning of this self transformation. So in the past, it was stories like this that actually helped people to understand how the process goes on. Now, the same thing we want to also explain in the more scientific manner. Here, Prithvi is coming with her explanation about the scientific side of this subconscious mind. Prithvi, let's just, now that we discussed about the mythological side, why don't you throw some light about the same from the scientific perspective?
Yes, so very important, Sunil. Beautifully, you explained the Sagar Manthan. Our ancestors have come up with stories to make us understand the process, what happens, and it is so symbolical that every character is representing something that happens so really. And today, I really want to highlight one spiritual scientist, a scientist who has done immense work in this area of emotions, understanding the emotions, and she has particularly worked on the purification of the mind. What exactly happens when we sit with our breath? She practiced this breath awareness meditation for herself, and then she did a lot of studies on the yogis, long time practitioners, and she is actually the first person who said that the body and mind are connected. We have been treating the body separately, and we are trying to heal or cure the diseases only by looking at the body, but body and mind are very much related. Whatever goes in the mind has an impact on the body, and she was the first person to lay down the base for psychoneuroimmunology, a subject like that. After her studies, a lot of people jumped into it and started to work on this area, but initially she had a very rough time where the conventional scientific community could not actually accept the fact that the disease that was happening in the body was rooted in the mind. They couldn't accept this fact. But she has beautifully explained it in her research. She did immense work and she has published almost around 250 scientific research papers on peptides, proteins, and opiates. So let me just quickly show you. So she is nothing. She is actually Candace B. Pert. She was born in June 26th, 1946. That was the time where, in the 1950s is the time when actual studies on meditation took a peak, and that is when people started to actually accept meditation as a scientific practice, not just as a spiritual practice. So she is an American neuroscientist who discovered opioid receptors. So in the brain, there are receptors which gets attached to the endorphins, like the neurotransmitters. Whatever the neurotransmitters get released in the body, right? It gets attached to a receptor. And she is the person who discovered there was a receptor where these cells connect to those neurotransmitters and act accordingly to the biochemicals that is released. And she is a contributor of the psychoneuroimmunology field, which talks about the connection between body, mind, and immune system. So she is an author of the book called Molecules of Emotion. Today, whatever I'll be speaking is from this book called Molecules of Emotions, and your body is your subconscious mind. Okay, she has been a contributing author to the Measuring the Immeasurable, the scientific case studies of for the spirituality. So her book, which I was mentioning, as Molecules of Emotions, in that she says that till then people were believing that the memory is only collected in the brain. Brain is the only part of the body which has memory. But then she said, no, every single cell in the body is collecting memory. Every single cell in the body is a mind. So your mind is in every cell of your body. The memory, whatever kind of experiences we are having, whatever kind of emotions we go through, whatever kind of feelings we keep suppressing, right? It accumulates in every single cell of the body. It's not just accumulated in the mind or in the brain. I'm sorry. So in this book, she talks a lot about, see, you see this two neurons, right? In between, there are small lightings kind of things. Those are the neurotransmitters, and here the receptors are here, right? So she said that in her research, she got to know that whenever a person experiences a kind of emotion, it might be anger, it might be frustration, a body response gives the signal to the brain, and brain releases a lot of neurotransmitters. And so she was telling that whenever the emotions are expressed, which is to say that the biochemicals that are substrate of emotions are flowing freely, all systems are united and made whole. So the body doesn't act separately. There is a unification in the body. But when we suppress any kind of emotions, if we suppress the anger, if we suppress our sad feelings, what happens is these neurotransmitters, they do not get into the bloodstream. They get accumulated. They do not go to the next cell. You see here the green things, right? These are getting accumulated. So the neurotransmitters, if they get accumulated in one cell, if they keep getting accumulated, what happens is they result in inflammation of that cell. So if you go to any doctors, they actually cannot say why inflammation happens. Day before yesterday, I took my aunt to the doctor because she was having very bad aches and she couldn't walk. She had stiffness in the bones. Okay. And the doctor had prescribed a lot of antibiotics, antimicrobial medicines for a month time. And they said that a lot of C reactive protein is released in her body because of the inflammation in her body. So I asked the doctor why inflammation has happened. He couldn't actually answer me. He said, inflammation has happened. I don't know why it has happened. It is not because of any bacterial infection or viral infection. It has happened. But the real reason here is the inflammation happens when the accumulated peptides in the body are treated as foreign particles by our own immune system. This is what we call as autoimmune disease, where our immune system is meant to protect our body, but our immune system starts treating our own body as a foreign particle and starts destroying that particular cell. That is when the inflammation happens. So she continued her study in this particular thing, and she said if we suppress any kind of emotions, no, these peptides are getting accumulated. There is a memory in every cell of that particular emotion. Okay. And she continued saying that as our feelings change, this mixture of peptides travel throughout your body and your brain, and they are literally changing the chemistry of every cell in your body. So these peptides, whatever emotions we feel, right, they are making the chemistry of the body. It is the thoughts that we get and the feelings that we get is creating the environment for the body. And further, she started to practice meditation, and she wanted to see that the actual medication what doctors were giving was not right, because they were really not understanding why this inflammation was happening. So she really wanted to understand why this happens. So she started to practice meditation. So she said that simply being aware, bringing the awareness to the process of breathing initiates the release of these peptide molecules from the hindbrain to regulate breathing while unifying all systems. This is such an important thing. She says that when we sit for meditation, these accumulated peptides in the cells, in every cell, gets released into the system by unifying the whole body, which means when we are meditating, these difficult emotions which we have been suppressing since our childhood, gets into the bloodstream and we start feeling those emotions. We start feeling the elevated, difficult emotions. And she said that most of the psychologists treat mind as disembodied, a phenomenon with little or no connection with the physical body at all. And conversely, physicians also are treating with no regard to the mind or the emotions. A lot of us, like day before yesterday, when I took my aunt to the doctor, they didn't even ask her how you're feeling, why you're, are you really worried about something, what is really troubling you. They didn't ask anything. They simply prescribed the medicines to maintain that inflammation, to reduce that infection that had happened. But they were really not treating the emotions. So she says that body and mind are not separate. We cannot treat one without the other. So, to treat the body, we have to understand what really is going in the mind. Okay, then with her further study, she understood, she has written another book called Your Body is Your Subconscious Mind. Okay, your complete body is an accumulation of all the memories from your childhood. So your body is your subconscious mind, and you cannot heal it just by talks alone. You have to meditate. To understand what subconscious mind is, I'll quickly tell what subconscious mind is. We have all been hearing that the conscious mind is just the tip of the iceberg, where the science also has revealed that only 5% of the day we are operating from the conscious mind, and 95% of the time we are operating from the subconscious mind. So, what really is in the subconscious mind? So, subconscious mind is the data bank for everything. Since our childhood, whatever we have heard, whatever we have seen, whatever behaviors have been, we are exposed to, all those memories are accumulated in the subconscious mind, especially the first 7 years of the birth time, right? We program our subconscious mind. Anything and everything that is said, done, or taught in that first 7 years is like a blueprint for the next rest of our life, because that is the memory where we build a belief system, we build our pattern of thinking, we build our skills, we build our habits. So everything that you have seen, done, and thought is also there. It's kind of a guiding system. So this memory, we are not really conscious. A lot of times we think that I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have reacted in this way. I shouldn't have got so angry. Uh, where is it coming from? That is a pattern of the mind which is in the subconscious mind. It is your behavior. Okay. So, what meditation does is it helps us to clear the unhelpful imprints in the subconscious. So, whatever unhelpful imprints means, the difficult memories, the behaviors which we don't want, the beliefs, the limiting beliefs that I am not good enough, I am scared, I don't look good. All these belief systems which we have been carrying since our childhood, we can clear them. How that happens is when we meditate, we saw that the brain functions differently, right? The brain goes from beta, which is high activity of the brain, to lower alpha, where we start getting settling into the meditative state, and then we go into theta and delta. Theta and delta are the doorways for subconscious mind. So, when we get into theta and delta states of mind with awareness, we go to theta and delta during the sleep also, but we are not aware of it. Only and only in meditation, we can tap into theta and delta with awareness. We can tap into the subconscious mind and see our belief systems, what our belief systems are, what our emotions are, what our habits are. It starts coming onto the layer. We start seeing the behaviors of ours. It starts coming onto the layer, and we become aware of our subconscious patterns. the subconscious imaginations, the subconscious habit. So, this is not really a very pleasant experience. In fact, Candy Spurt shares her experience in the Molecules of Emotions in that book. She says that when she sat for meditation after about few days, couple of days of practice, she was meditating, she was practicing the breath mindfulness meditation, and suddenly she saw a flash of images in front of her eyes where she saw that her father was lying on a bed with all those equipments in a ICU. He was about to die. He was on his deathbed, and when she saw those visions, a lot of fear hormones, the cortisols, everything that was accumulated in her body started circulating. It got released. And she started shivering, she started sweating, she started getting faster breaths. And then she was closely observing herself that she had this fear of death since her childhood. Her father was doing all well. She don't know why she got that vision, but the purpose of that vision was to release the fear hormones, fear peptides, fear neurotransmitters, cortisols that was accumulated in her body, and to release it so that the fear of death that she was carrying since her childhood was coming onto the layer, and she was letting go of. She was feeling it, she was being with it, and she was letting it go. So she said meditation is not always a pleasantful experience. The purification of emotions happens during meditation. The purification of mind happens during meditation. A lot of us, uh, start seeing our attachments towards the things that we have. And when we see that attachment, we start self-judging ourselves. We start thinking that, oh God, I'm so selfish. The meditation is making me so selfish to realize that I have been so selfish. And we start judging ourselves, we start putting ourselves down. In fact, my personal experience in this is, I used to teach meditation. I was practicing guided meditation, and then I used to teach guided meditation to people with lot of confidence, because it was making people relax. It was making people go to a very peaceful state and all. I used to do it very confidently. But once I came into Anapanasati meditation, the breath meditation, the mind got into that silence where I allowed the subconscious mind to come onto the layer. And I saw that I didn't know anything about meditation. That put me so down. I started self doubting about myself. I started, I went so underconfident. I stopped classes. I stopped teaching meditation because I thought I don't know anything about meditation. What will I teach? So, first, let me practice it. But then I realized this is a process. When we get into that silence, when we get into that stillness of mind, all the accumulated memory starts coming onto the layer. We shouldn't be actually. So, whenever we are meditating, if we go through these kinds of difficult emotions, we have to understand we are clearing the old memories. It is it is a sign that the churning of the mind has started. All the halahal, the negatives are coming onto the layer. If we react to these negativities with self doubt, with criticism, with judgments, we are going to multiply it. It is not going to help us in any other way if we react to these memories. Only thing that we need to do is, without reacting, with equanimity, with neutrality, we have to just observe. We have to just allow those emotions to come onto the layer, feel. They say, feel to heal. So, whatever the emotions are, however difficult it is, feel those emotions, allow those emotions, be with it, observe it with equanimity, and know that this too will pass. Nothing is permanent. So, thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prithvi. That was amazing. That was so beautifully explained in logical terms, in terms of scientific temperament.